We do a lot of work with childcare institutions. We started our aftercare program. We also have done a pilot with foster parenting. We have done a vulnerability study with the government. So it's nearly close to 20 years of work on the field that has taken CSA to where it is today. So that's my introduction. I'm going to very briefly introduce my very eminent panelist members. So I'll start with Dr. Kiran Modi. She's actually done her doctorate from IIT Delhi. And then her passion was really in the social sector. And so she founded Udyan Care, who has been working for more than 25 years. They run a very wonderful model of childcare institutions where it's very family-like care. Okay, a very, very unique and very successful model. And they have also done a lot of work in skilling and aftercare as well. Then we have Mr. Saurabh Singh. Saurabh Singh is a banker, more than 20 years with ICICI Bank. He wears two caps. One is, of course, he's a very senior part of the very senior management team at ICICI Bank, but he's also the president of ICICI Foundation of Skills, of Inclusive Growth. ICICI Foundation has set up this wonderful network of skilling institutes across the country. They are probably one of the largest providers of skilling services and one of the most successful in terms of their placement and what their alumni are able to achieve. So we are very pleased to have Saurabh with us. We have Geeta Gopal, actually Dr. Geeta Gopal, because she is a PhD in computer science, more than 30 years in the tech industry, worked a long time with HP, was actually responsible for setting up HP labs in India. And after she and her husband retired, they actually decided to work in the social sector. So they have set up this wonderful organization called A Future for Every Child. And we'll hear more from her as we go along. We also have Bharti Tahiliani. She has a long career working with children in need of care and protection in a variety of roles. She has worked with UNICEF. She has worked with Unilever and the NC Foundation. She is also director aftercare with International Justice Mission. And she's the founder of Shamta, which she founded in 2011. Okay, and Shamta run an aftercare home and do some really wonderful work with a whole variety of women particularly. We also have Dr. Samir Chaudhary. Dr. Samir Chaudhary he and his wife, they're actually practicing pediatricians. They live in Katni in Madhya Pradesh. And in 2005, they set up this very, very wonderful childcare institution called Little Star Foundation. And CSA has been working with Little Star as we have been working with many of the other organizations in this panel and beyond. And it's really a pleasure to have him also with us. Hello, doctor. I can see you just come back from your clinic. So it's really a pleasure to see you here. We also have Satyajit Majumdar, who is the head of advocacy at CSA. He is a law graduate, has spent many years in the social and development sector, and in CSA has been leading the advocacy function for the last year and a half. So that's the introduction to the panel, right? And I'm really pleased to have a very wonderful set of people to talk about today's topic. So today's topic is aftercare. What do we mean by aftercare? So after, if there's a child in need of care and protection, then that child is normally placed in a childcare institution. All right. Colloquially, we know them as orphanages, but the right term is childcare institution. And the childcare institution will provide uh, care, protection, education, whatever development inputs they can provide to the child. But at the age of 18, technically, now that child has become an adult and can no longer live in that childcare institution. So at the age of 18, right, that person, that young girl or boy or young adult, we are actually going to call them care leavers in today's meeting, that person has to now fend for himself. And I think many of us may have children of that age or relatives of that age or friends of that age. So you can just imagine that when you are 18, if you are asked to fend for yourself and you don't have parental support or family support, just how challenging that can be. So this actually the JJ Act actually covers aftercare and says that the state should provide support, financial or otherwise, to help these young adults join mainstream society till the age that they are 21. So the provision in the legal framework, in the act and the policy is there. But on the ground, there are close to 9,000, at least 9,000 childcare institutions across the country. And the number of care leavers every year is at least between 50 to 60,000, probably divided equally between girls and boys. And if we look at the ground reality of these 50 to 60,000 young people on the verge of adulthood who have to fend for themselves and the services that are available to them, there is a huge, huge gap. And it is this gap and filling this gap that we are going to be discussing in today's webinar. So I'm going to, with that brief introduction, I'm going to launch straight ahead. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to talk a little bit about their perspective around aftercare. And after that, we will get into a more, into the next session, the next segment of this webinar. So Satyajit, can I start with you? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Vipul. Thank you for introducing myself, introducing me. I think Vipul has already introduced Catalyst for Social Action. Overall, what I would like to go into is the work that we do with childcare institutions and how this aftercare program that CSA runs, how this program evolved and how it started. Now, CSA at present works with close to 80 childcare institutions in 4 states, those being Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Goa. And we have close to 4,500 children in these institutions, placed in these institutions that we work with. Now, so in the year 2016, in course of our work with these childcare institutions, we realized this gap in the space of aftercare, which exists, as Vipul mentioned, and that is how we started this aftercare program with close to 16 care leavers. And these care leavers were from the institutions that we were working with at that point of time. But over the years, over the last 4 years, in partnership with AFIC, we have been able to scale this program, and today we also enroll care leavers from other institutions, other childcare institutions, which have not worked with Catalyst for Social Action. And so we have close to 330 care leavers enrolled in the program today. Other than this, Catalyst for Social Action also does awareness programs and trainings for prospective adoptive parents on the JJ Act, the adoption regulations, foster care regulations. We have also done, so as Vipul mentioned, we have done counseling programs for older kids who are in CCIs for them to be able to transition into the family. Yeah, these are the few things that we have done. Yes, and I think most of the other things have been covered by Vipul. Yeah, thank you, Vipul.
Thank you, Satyajit. Geeta, can we come to you? Would you like to share why you chose aftercare as one of your programs to focus on?
Yeah, thank you, Vipul. So my husband Madan and I formed Future for Every Child 2 years ago. We're relatively recent, and we got official nonprofit status only last year. We're based in California in the US. We are adoptive parents, and we wanted to do something to help orphaned and vulnerable children. In fact, the mission of AFEC is supporting the journey of orphaned and vulnerable children to adulthood. But of course, this space is huge, and there's so much good work being done by so many of you on this panel and attending this webinar. And the challenges are huge. But in consultation with Vipul and with others, we decided to focus on aftercare. We picked this because we feel this is the last chance we have to help and support children growing up in CCIs. They've already suffered so much before the age of 18. So this is our last chance to help them before they sink or swim on their own. And when I think of our 3 children who are now in their 20s, even though they had a pretty good education, which a lot of these children growing up in CCIs don't have, if we had told them at the age of 18, you know, you're on your own, nice knowing you, I can't imagine how they would have survived, let alone thrived. So we decided to focus on aftercare. We do not intend to have delivery capability in India on the ground. Our method of operation is to fund and work very closely with partners to extend the reach of aftercare. Our first partnership is with CSA. And our focus, AFEC's focus, is on data-driven improvement and scalability. As Vipul said, there are 50 to 60,000 children turning 18 every year and being forced to leave CCIs. So we want to answer questions such as, how do we define a successful outcome for aftercare? What data do we need to collect to measure efficacy of the program? How do we scale? How can we introduce technology in order to scale? So in our first 9 months, we have fully funded 83 care leavers, and we have worked with CSA to analyze the program in detail with respect to some of the questions that we want to answer. So I really look forward to talking to all of you later about this later in the webinar. Thanks, Vipul.
Thank you, Geeta. Can we move on to Dr. Sameer? Doctor, you will have to unmute. Yes, Dr. Sameer.
ओके सर, सबसे पहले आप सभी को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार। और मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि हमने काफी ऐसा टॉपिक लिया है जिसकी अभी हमें जरूरत है। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है कि जिस बच्चे को हमने 18 साल तक केयर की, उसको हम एक ऐसी स्टेज में ले जाके छोड़े कि वो अपने पैरों पर खड़ा हो सके। और उसके लिए सीएसए ने हमें काफी मोटिवेट किया और हमें नए आइडियाज दिए। जो हमें चैलेंज, जहां तक इसमें जो हमारे चैलेंजेस हैं, वो जो बेसिकली चैलेंज ये है कि यदि हम किसी बच्चे को एजुकेशन में डालते हैं, जो बच्चे एजुकेशन में हैं 18 साल की एज में, वो फर्स्ट ईयर में होते हैं या 12th में होते हैं, सडनली हमको एक ऑर्डर आ जाता है कि इनको आफ्टर केयर होम में शिफ्ट करना है, बिकॉज हम लोग ऑर्फनेज रन करते हैं। सो आफ्टर 18 हम उनको नहीं रख सकते। तो बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आती है कि एक बच्चा एक एनवायरनमेंट में 18 ईयर्स तक है, एक सर्टेन एजुकेशन स्टैंडर्ड में है, और फिर हमको उसको भोपाल शिफ्ट करना है या इंदौर शिफ्ट करना है। दूसरा चैलेंज हमारे सामने आता कि अगर हम उसको कोई वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग में डालते हैं, अगेन वही बात आती है कि हमको उसको 18 के बाद बाहर शिफ्ट करना है। मैं ऐसा चाहता हूँ गवर्नमेंट से और सीएसए के थ्रू कुछ ऐसी एडवोकेसी हो कि जो बच्चे प्रॉपरली एजुकेशन ले रहे हैं, एक स्ट्रीम में, एक कॉलेज में है, ये वो क्या हम ऐसा कुछ कर सकते हैं, कुछ मीडिएशन की हम उसको नहीं शिफ्ट करना पड़े, वो बच्चा अपना पूरा कैरियर अटेंड कर पाए, जो उसका प्रॉपर एजुकेशन है वो कर पाए। ऐसा बीच में प्रॉब्लम हुई मुझे। दूसरा जो चैलेंज आ रहा हमारे सामने कि इतने सालों में मैंने देखा कि एजुकेशन में बच्चे बहुत इंटरेस्ट नहीं ले रहे। हमने बहुत उनको मेहनत करी तो हमें उसमें काफी निराशा हुई। सीएसए ने हमको काफी ट्यूटर्स भी प्रोवाइड कराए, हमने उनको बेस्ट क्वालिटी टीचर्स अवेलेबल करवाए, एक प्रोग्राम दिया, सारा कुछ जो पॉसिबल हुआ, बट ये एकेडमिकली बहुत आगे नहीं निकल पा रहे हैं बच्चे। मेरा जो पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है, ऐसा कुछ बच्चे तो हमें उस एज में मिलते हैं जो स्कूल नहीं गए हैं, हमें उन्हें बीच में से पढ़ाना चालू करना पड़ता है, एक वो प्रॉब्लम जाती है। और जो भी हो, हम ऐसा माहौल नहीं दे पा रहे कि बच्चा एकेडमिकली बहुत अच्छा निकले। बट जब मैंने इनको अदर एक्टिविटीज में देखा, स्पोर्ट्स में वो एक्सीलेंट है, वो एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज में एक्सीलेंट है, और मैंने फिर ये सर्च किया कि हम इनको क्या करें कि इनका एक प्रॉपर कैरियर इस स्टेज में बने। तो मेरा जो एक्सपीरियंस है कि स्पोर्ट्स में हमारे बच्चे काफी अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, और इनके लिए हम स्पोर्ट्स में अपॉर्चुनिटीज ढूंढ रहे हैं। हमारे कुछ बच्चे स्पोर्ट्स में प्लेस्ड भी हुए, स्पेशली जब हमने हॉर्स राइडिंग की ट्रेनिंग बच्चों को देना चालू करी, हमारे बच्चों ने नेशनल और स्टेट लेवल्स पे काफी अच्छा परफॉर्म किया। और ये बहुत अच्छी न्यूज है कि अगर किसी बच्चे को 2 गोल्ड मेडल या 2 मेडल मिल जाते हैं नेशनल गेम्स में, तो उसको गवर्नमेंट जॉब फिक्स हो जाता है। तो हमारी अभी 7 लड़कियां हैं जो नेशनल एकेडमी ऑफ हॉर्स राइडिंग में हैं, और ऑलमोस्ट सभी के 2-2 मेडल्स हो गए हैं। तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी होगी अगर 7 लड़कियां आर्मी में या किसी और इस तरह के डिपार्टमेंट में चली जाएंगी गवर्नमेंट। तो सीएसए ने मुझे, ये एकदम नया फील्ड था कि हमें एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हॉर्स राइडिंग के लिए स्पॉन्सर करें एंड हॉर्स राइडिंग के लिए हमारे बच्चों को वो प्रमोट करे और उसके लिए हमें फंडिंग करे। बट सीएसए ने हमारे इस स्टेप को अप्रिशिएट किया, हमको कोऑपरेट किया, और अभी हम काफी अच्छा उसमें परफॉर्म कर पा रहे हैं। तो हम चाहते हैं कि कुछ ऐसा एक रास्ता निकले कि जो बच्चे स्कूल या कॉलेज में हैं, कुछ ऐसा सिस्टम निकले कि वो अपना एजुकेशन कंप्लीट कर पाए, क्योंकि जरूरी नहीं होता कि हम भोपाल में शिफ्ट करने का उनका प्रॉपर एजुकेशन हम कर पा रहे हैं। ये मेरे सामने बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। और दूसरा दूसरा हमारे पास एक प्लस पॉइंट ये है कि लड़कियों की हम मैरिजेस कर देते हैं तो काफी हेल्प हमको उसमें मिल जाती है। जो उन्होंने यहाँ पे सीखा वो वहाँ एनवायरमेंट उनको अगर अच्छा मिलता है तो वो उससे अपना कुछ एंटरप्रेन्योर चालू कर पाती है। जैसे सीएसए ने हमको ब्यूटी पार्लर के ट्रेड में काफी सपोर्ट किया, हमारी कुछ लड़की आफ्टर मैरिज काफी अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रही है और अपनी अर्निंग्स कर रही है। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Dr. Samir. Shall we, and we'll come back to some of these topics, right? डॉक्टर समीर, क्या आप थोड़ा सा वो अपना कंप्यूटर शिफ्ट करेंगे ताकि हम आपको थोड़ा और अच्छी तरह देख पाए? वो थोड़ा बीच में ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन आ रहा है। हाँ, दैट्स थोड़ा सा लिटिल लोअर, या दैट्स बेटर। थैंक यू, दैट्स मच बेटर। चलिए, लेट्स कम टू भारती जी. Let's you have been looking at this whole aftercare area in a number of different perspectives. Can we hear a little bit from you?
Good morning, everybody. I'll start with what Shamta does in as much brief. We look at women who are from very extremely vulnerable backgrounds. There could be women from gender-based violence background who are in distress, traffic backgrounds. Where are these women from? They are mainly from the government shelter homes. So they have already been part of institutional care, either for a longer term or a very short term. So what is the mission? The mission is basically to look at deinstitutionalization. So what happens after women like these leave the shelter homes? The focus is equipping, empowering these women so that they can live a life that they are respected, they are productive and earning citizens. How do we do this? This is through training, employment, and integration back in society. So what kind of integration we are looking at? We are looking at three integration. One is psychological, social, and economic. So it's a wide range of hand-holding activities that are required over a period of time so that women are equipped, number one, and they feel enabled and empowered to mainstream back into society. So this requires a whole range of services with the participation of the woman. So I won't say that she's a beneficiary, but she's a client who participates in her reintegration process. So what does aftercare actually mean for these women? So it's something that buys time for them, because you have to deal with a lot of trauma. You have to deal with a lot of exploring options for you. So it creates a safe space so that you can tap into these aspirations. You can work on, there is a place where you can work on your temperament, your personality. There is a time to dialogue, learn life skills, effective coping mechanisms, trauma counseling. Of course, accommodation and care is a very important part when we work with vulnerable women who do not have immediate support systems. Job readiness again becomes very important, which is the mental preparation for work life is very important. So I think there is a whole gamut of things. An integrated approach is very much a part of aftercare. It is the bridge, it bridges the gap between institutional care, which is needed for some time, and to independent living. So there is this whole piece that has been missing for a lot many years, where there is a certain kind of handholding and direction and mentoring and coaching which is required for women from these kind of backgrounds. 2 points that I would like to stress on here is that one is aftercare doesn't mean you do it forever. It has a certain time period. It has a certain plan to it. It has a certain case management to it where the girl participates or the woman participates. It is definitely person-centric, but it also based on group learning. It's also very much embedded into peer learning. So I think this point is what we have learned over the years. Sustainability is very important. So what happens when this bridging is over and ultimately independent living skills are developed and you start living independently? So the sustainability component, will she be able to keep her job sustainable? Will you be able to make decisions and face the consequences of your decisions? I think these are soft skills which are very important when you do this kind of hand-holding. Society plays a very important role, and I think aftercare is not complete if only NGOs participate. Society has to participate because this is a societal issue. It is a much larger issue that we face. Vulnerable women, children and women are societal, they are our resource. And if society doesn't play a role in mentoring, in supporting these women, in getting involved in their lives, social integration is not possible, because when you talk about mainstreaming, society has to play an equally important role. So I think for what we have learned over the years is aftercare is very dynamic. It is very evolving. It requires a lot of participation of the client, the NGO, and the society. And it is needed to bridge that gap between institutional care and actually getting into independent living. So I think this is what. Yeah.
Thank you, Bharti, for that very nice, I would say, overview of what makes aftercare much more than just skilling and job placement.
Yep.
Right? I think very often I think very often the thinking is that there's a person, उसको हम skill करा देते हैं और उसको job मिल जाएगा, ठीक है ना? Our job is done. And we actually realize that there is a lot of hand-holding, a lot of support, a lot of confidence building that is very, very much required, because that's what these people have lacked. They have not had that, what would come normally from parental support. And
I also feel it's something that you have to plan. You just can't keep doing it, and it's not forever. You're not held for ransom forever on this. There is a plan to it. There's a participation to it.
Very, very true. Let's move on to Saurabh. Saurabh, as I said, ICICI Academy of Skills is one of the most successful and largest skilling programs. So can you share a little bit about what comes, and also I think you're one of the highest placement records, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So what makes your program so successful, and what are the challenges that you face? Please share.
Thank you for inviting me. So while all of you are specialized and working in a particular field of child care and aftercare, being a banker, we are slightly wider in our approach. And why we went into skilling and livelihood, I think it's an interesting journey that would make a relevance for all of us. I don't know how many of you are aware that as late as the early 2000, ICICI had just about 3,000 employees. Today we are 1 lakh employee. So when an organization starts growing, you start recruiting in bulk. In recruiting in bulk, the first problem comes, who has trained people for you to recruit? And when you go to the market, you find people holding degrees, but they do not have the requisite skill. When you look within the organization, majority of the interaction with customer happens in the regional language, but people are selected or rejected for lack of knowledge of English. And language is a skill. So over focus on qualification, very low skill levels amongst bank recruitment. And there are people holding a degree, probably comes from a poor background, may not have a chair at home, may not have worn shoes till the time the person has graduated. And you have the interviewer wearing a jacket and a tie and speaking fluent English. The first thing you do is scare the child. Now, why I'm saying all this is that's the reality of today, and that's how the corporates operate. We spoke to educational institutions, we could not make an impact. So ICICI set up its own training centers, which were for employees of ICICI. So we tied up with NIIT, we tied up with Manipal University, and the entire value chain of recruiting people whom we want with an attitude and train them in what you want was set up. And we have, as bank, we were successful in getting people from all walks of life and training them. Now coming to CSR, same problem we said the society is facing. There are enough people in the society. On the other side, there are employers who are struggling. So let's take example of a SME who has 100 or 200 people. Where will they attract manpower? They don't have the money to advertise. If they advertise, the advertisement is not read by the segment. So how do I reach out to people whom I want to recruit? On the other hand, the other panelist just mentioned that we have a bulk of people who are looking for employment, but they don't know where to go. And you can't have people knocking on everybody's door that do you have 1 vacancy or 2 vacancies. Next thing, what are the basic skills required to make a person employable? Third, what are the areas where large scale employment opportunity or livelihood opportunity is available? We don't have any published research. So as a country, we are lacking in terms of information, where the opportunities are, where the livelihood futures are, and what are the areas if we train a good amount of livelihood and education and job opportunities are available. So that's why we entered this space. And to be very frank, we work on a minimalistic approach, saying what is the minimum period and minimum investment required to get a child employable or can get into livelihood. And that's where we are running 30 skill academies. And we were very conscious on the teaching methodology that people who are school dropouts, you can't put them in a classroom to learn. So that's where the lab format was created for them for skill development. People who have continued with education, they get into the classroom. So with these 2 formats, we have tied up with almost 1,300 employers as of now. We don't see shortage of employers. There are enough employers who are willing to come and recruit because you're giving them a quality which is not there in the market. So you've done soft skill training, you have done skill development, and that's what makes these people employable more than their neighbors. And now with more than 150,000 placements in the last 5 years, and every year we are expanding 2-3 institutes. So it's a very well networked of free skilling that we have been able to do in the last 5 years.
It's really an amazing job that your foundation and your team has done. And as I mentioned, a lot of our care leavers, go through the ICICI Academy of Skills. And what we have seen is that they gain not only practical skills, but also a lot of confidence due to the soft skills component in your programs. So that's really very nice to know. I will now come to Dr. Kiran Modi. Over to you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a great opportunity. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you, CSA. Can I share my screen?
Please.
I'll take 1 minute. We've been talking about all the problems that our youth face. But the biggest problem that we have found has been while the child has been in the CCI. If the child is not prepared while the child is in the CCI for the ultimate adulthood and independence, how can you expect a child to suddenly become an adult, suddenly become self-reliant? So I will just start with a few words about what Udayan Care has been doing. This is our 26th year. We have been doing a lot of, sorry. Oh, I don't know what is going on. Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of conferences, consultations, and especially developing a discourse on aftercare with the government and the third sector. We have also done a lot of research around aftercare and children growing up in CCI, and especially last year with the help of UNICEF and Tata Trust, we could interview 450 young people as well as 100 key informants, and it really threw up data which we were sadly missing in our country. So it brought the need for aftercare to a greater urgency in our minds. We are also taking out a journal, an academic journal, which covers all the issues of alternative care, including aftercare. And I think, one thing that we have started from 2014 is to try to get the care leavers together and get them into a group, because they know what it means to grow up in CCIs, what they missed there, how they can support each other, and they become a very supportive group, and they support each other as well as they become a resource to the system. Because the care leavers that we have been supporting in Delhi, they have formed themselves into a group which is called Clan. They've started visiting CCIs. They are talking to the children and telling them that once I'm out, these are the problems I'm facing. You still have time, so you prepare yourself. So, after doing all our studies, we realized that, this is the sphere of aftercare. So I don't know why my slide is looking all, so badly, it's looking jumbled up. But this sphere of aftercare came out of our experience. When we are talking about that a youth is unprepared, what does it mean? We need, when he leaves the CCI or even later an aftercare home, because there is a provision and there are aftercare homes where youth are given support. So they need an affordable and adequate housing. They need proper education. Those who are not interested in education, they should be getting proper vocational skills, something like what the ICICI, Mr. Saurabh Singh is saying. Those kind of skills are needed by them. Their mental and emotional well-being should be in tandem with their physical health if we want them to succeed in life. We have to remember all these children have suffered unimaginable trauma while they were growing up. Before coming to CCI, after coming to CCI, most of the time it is not addressed. And then comes your impending youth, when you again start worrying, oh my God, I have to leave this institution. So they start a process of re-traumatization. So we need to address that. Then identity. This is the biggest issue. Most of the children don't have their identity papers. Now, at least Aadhaar is making things simpler, but still there are a lot of issues. And when they join any job, most of the time they are not able to get into a good company just because they cannot verify their identity papers. So CCIs have to be very conscious of this. We need to teach them independent living skills. Unfortunately, in our country, because of certain bad things happen, the authorities have also become overly conscious that while you are in a CCI, you are not learning any skills. You cannot cook, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, because it will amount to child labor. And it will also amount to your caregivers might be misusing them. So at the age of 18, you go out and you don't even know how to cook, wash, support yourself. So these independent living skills, then interpersonal skills. Children are so secluded in an organization, they're hardly getting a chance to go out. I have witnessed some organizations, some homes, and where the children are studying also within the organization. One teacher comes and different classes are being run by him only. So how will they ever run interpersonal skills? How would they get this kind of an opportunity of sports, becoming a horse rider? It's amazing, the kind of things the civil society, somebody said that it is not just a CCI and government. It is also, people out there, the society, they have to, one of the boys told me when he went for the job, he could not even talk because the interviewer was a lady. So that kind of interpersonal skills, and then financial independence and career. It's very, very important that they understand what does it mean to be a financially independent person. How do they manage their financial resources, whatever they are, and how can they go to the next level for their career? So actually, the way I look at it, it's like, aftercare. Then pre-aftercare at the CCI level, they should be given all kinds of trainings to do with these domains of the sphere. Once they are in aftercare, they are given further support, and then post aftercare. If we think you've got a job and you are done and you out of my sight, it doesn't work. COVID has brought, in the next slide I will talk about it. So with our experience of working with our own children, which we have been working for the last so many years, and hundreds of children have come out. Some of them have done exceedingly well, from lawyers to computer scientists to, we've got all kinds, teachers. Some of them did not want to study because they came very late. Still they did their 12th and vocational training, and they are into jobs. And after doing our research, it came out very clear there is a huge need to support children in aftercare so that they develop their own voice. So, we have started our projects in Delhi, Bihar, and Vadodara. Again, in Bihar, with the help of WCD as well as UNICEF, we are setting up a care model of aftercare. So before we go to a state, we need to understand their context. We have to do the capacity enhancement of the youth on one hand and functionaries on the other hand. While the child is in CCI, what kind of transition planning is needed? The functionaries also need to understand, and the children also need to be prepared for transition planning. And we are trying to build these evidence by working with others. As I said, about CLAN and other such organizations which we are setting up in other cities. These are youth whom we are, just encouraging them to come on their own and start their work. So we talked about COVID also, and COVID has really brought a lot of problems for the care leavers. We have heard about many care leavers facing everybody in the society is getting their jobs laid off, their salaries cut, no money to pay rent, and imagine more so for the care leavers because they don't have anyone to support. They have to support themselves. So we started a little bit of a program which is called Ghar Wapsi. So all our alumni, whoever is having a job loss or any problem because of COVID, they are coming back and we are helping them. CLAN Delhi is also, they have developed a wonderful plea to the government and posted it on change.org. I would like all of you to help, and so that it goes to the government. This petition competition. We are trying to, with Preeti Patkar, we are trying to set up an alliance on aftercare, and also keeping aftercare in the larger child protection space. We are also coming up this webinar with transnational care leavers, which is happening tomorrow. It is only for care leavers, and it's going to be great fun. So please tell your care leavers to join. And, I think they need to move on and move up, but they need us. We need to support them. Once you give them a little push, they fly towards a brighter future. Like somebody said, they need support, they need community support, and they need safe spaces. This is the least we can do for our children, in whom the system is investing so much while they are in a CCI. Then suddenly what happens? Nothing. So that's not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kiran. I think you have very rightly, very nicely put the whole context of aftercare in front of us, right? The need that exists, I think through various speakers, we have understood the big need that exists, the fact that this need needs to be addressed right from the time when they are within the CCI to prepare them for the time when they have to live independently and earn on their own, right? And of course, during that whole process of transition, as they get on independent, as they start getting the skills or education required for a job, into jobs, the whole need to support them. So with this, I'm going to now ask Geeta and Satyajit to present a paper, which today, in fact, we are going to release. It's a paper that's been produced jointly by CSA and AFEC. I'll not preempt what the paper will contain, so we'll plunge straight into it. So over to you. I think Satyajit, you are going to start and Geeta will supplement. Is that the plan?
Yes. So yeah, thank you, Vipul. Now, yes, Dr. Kiran, Bharati, you have set the context very nicely as to why an integrated approach is required, why preparation of the care leaver while within the CCI is important before he or she moves out. Now, I would like to start with giving a bit of a context to this. Now, CSA does not, so CSA's aftercare program, as I mentioned previously, started in the year 2016, but we do not run any childcare institutions by ourselves. So we partner with childcare institutions, and as I had mentioned, we work with close to 80 institutions at present. Now, what the gap that we really saw in the system is that the childcare institutions do not have the resources to provide skills education, counseling, career awareness. They do not have partnership with skilling institutes. So these are the gaps that we saw in the aftercare system. So when the child is within the CCI, these are a few gaps that we saw. These were skills that the child could have got had he or she been with a family. But because the child is in a childcare institution, the child is not getting exposure to these things. Now, and we know that the aftercare support system in the country, as was evident from the research of Udayan Care, is available to very few care leavers. Udayan Care and Make a Difference have done wonderful researches around this. Now, what this results in is that most care leavers who are in a cocoon space within a CCI, when they are moving out into the, when they are becoming an adult and moving out into the world, they are forced to take up low-paying, unskilled jobs to feed themselves, and the cycle of poverty continues. So, and most importantly, many of them are never given a chance to achieve their potential. So this is where we thought our program could come in. Geeta, if you could share your screen, please. Yes. So our program is so this study that we did is called Empowering Youth Living Care at 18. This primarily documents our aftercare program and its learnings from the past 4 years. It is an ongoing program, and our hope is that with these learnings and partnerships with other organizations in the space, we will be able to scale this program further in the coming years. Geeta, next slide, please. So here you see that our program started in 2016, and in partnership with AFIC, which started in 2019, we have been able to scale this program to 327 care leavers. Now, this program has two components. One is the preparatory training, which is for kids still within the CCI, for kids between the age of 14 to 17. And this, so these are the few components of the preparatory training. And then there is this the Bridge to Adulthood program, where this Bridge to Adulthood program basically helps the care leaver explore his or her interest, competency, undergo education training, and take up a job. We have supported around 800 youth in the preparatory training, and 327 have been enrolled in the Bridge to Adulthood program. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yes, so we have operations in 4 states, and in 3 of these states, the boys to girl ratio is almost the same. In fact, in MP and Odisha, if you see, the number of girls in the program are more than the number of boys. This is significant because getting girls to join and continue the program is more difficult than it is to do with boys. More than half of them have been in CCIs for 6 years or more. And 33 of them have in fact been in CCIs for more than 10 years. And we enroll care leavers irrespective of their education level. So while most of them have completed their 10th and 12th grade exams, we also have care leavers who have just completed that grade 8 or have dropped out from school. Geeta, you can move to the next slide, please. So so we have a process to help care leavers choose a career path based on their interest and competency. Our goal here is to enable care leavers to start earning as soon as possible. So we have partnered with vocational training institutes such as these that you see here to get care leavers admitted into short-term or long-term courses. So this ranges from 3 months to 2 years. Care leavers get a variety of courses to choose from, and our staff helps the care leavers with choosing the program. Then few care leavers also choose to take up higher education. So if you see the distribution here, you will see that most care leavers opt for a long-term skills training program, whereas few opt for higher education as well. Geeta, you can move to the next slide, please. As of date, we have 327, we have 103 care leavers of the 327 who have completed their education and are placed in jobs. They have taken up a variety of jobs. As you can see here, 5 care leavers in fact have started their own businesses. COVID-19 has affected all, as Dr. Modi mentioned, and I'll come a little later about that. We are in touch with all care leavers and are supporting them in whatever way we can. One significant statistic that I would like to highlight here is that only 6 of the 327 care leavers have dropped out of the program till date. Next slide, please. Of the 103 care leavers who are in jobs, the salary distribution shows that 71 are in the range of 7,000 to 15,000. This is the starting salary, which is much above the minimum wages. And since this is the starting salary, there's a potential for this to increase as well over time. We tried to analyze whether gender plays a role in the salary, but we don't see much of a discrepancy here. We are also trying to analyze whether the duration of the course has an impact on the salary of the individual. We do not have that data yet, but in course of time, we'll be probably able to make an analysis there. Geeta, over to you. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So when we did the study, we had a couple of goals. One is to really share the practical experience, challenges, successes of providing aftercare. There doesn't seem to be any published study like this, and we hope to share these learnings so that we can partner with others and improve our programs. And the other is for ourselves to understand what is working well and what we need to improve. So this graphic shows our theory of change. We are taking care leavers at the age of 18, providing life skills training, creating with them an actionable career plan, providing full financial support for training, housing, whatever is needed, help with job placement, but most crucially, providing them mentoring throughout the process and for 2 years after they get their first job. We're also putting them within a peer support network. So I'm going to address each of these components. I'm mainly going to talk about how to improve our program. I'm not really talking about advocacy and systemic change, and that'll come later in the discussions. So our enrollments for this 327, they were from CSA affiliated CCIs, but they're also from aftercare homes and referred to us by DCPUs and CWCs. Now, many care leavers are not even aware that they are entitled to such support, and they just, they leave CCIs and disappear. So we need to form partnerships to make sure that care leavers are referred and we can create a steady stream of enrollees into this program. So life skills training, we found that the care leavers who came into our program had a whole range of exposures to various life skills. The ones that had lived in CCI supported by CSA had been exposed to soft skills and practical skills trainings. Others had no exposure at all. So we need to, going forward, we need to find a way that we can do a compressed critical skills course that is effective and can be delivered scalably to all these care leavers. So we are piloting digital delivery with smartphones right now. We are allowing them to, enrolling them to learn conversational English and financial literacy. We've given smartphones to about 150 CLs. So we're planning to give it for in this year. I want to call out mentoring again. It's really a crucial component, and other people have talked about it. You can't just enroll a care leaver into a skilling program and hope they will succeed later. So our program is quite high touch. We are supporting our care leavers for 2 years after job placement. So our theory of change is that once a care leaver is on steady track for 2 years after their first job placement, then they should have sufficient skills to become successful in their lives. As Bharti said, you have to have a finite program for each care leaver in order to be able to scale. Of course, this is going to be data driven. We will see that if there's a lot of dropouts, then we may need to extend the length of mentoring that we provide. So in order to scale, we really need to have a very good sense of how much it costs to provide these programs. So it's relatively easy to compute the direct cost, which is tuition and housing and travel expenses for a care leaver. But there's a big cost, a significant cost, which is the staff to deliver this program. Volunteers are a great resource and can be very helpful, but we believe that to provide consistent services across different geographies for different types of care leavers, we need to have trained staff. So program staff are trained to counsel, to mentor, they vet education institutions, they help with job placement. So they do a lot. So given that we have estimated approximate average cost as 60,000 rupees per care leaver. And as you've seen, the care leavers can choose either a short-term course or a longer-term course. So this average is across all the different types of career choices that a care leaver could possibly take. And this is, if we compute a very rough estimate of return on investment, based on increase in salary over a daily wage earner, we have a tremendous return on investment for a pretty targeted intervention at this very crucial stage in their lives. We're also looking at tech deployment in order to support the staff and increase the productivity so we can have program staff deal with more care leavers. As I said, we're very focused on data collection. So our metric for a successful outcome is steady employment for a care leaver 2 years after job placement. So we have a number of external metrics. Satyajit shared some of them. Salary, number of care leavers who have dropped out, number of care leavers or employed, etc. We also have a lot of internal metrics to help us improve our program. How do the wages compare to minimum average salaries that are per state, or what kind of careers maximize earning potential, and how can we guide care leavers? So we collect all these internal metrics as well. So there's some topics we don't address at all right now that we need to. Mental health, how do we provide mental health support? People have talked about COVID, but we need to look at long-term implications of COVID. Some professions may disappear, others may become much more relevant and needed. So we need to look at long-term implications of COVID. We also need to be able to do a longitudinal assessment to see how successful our interventions are. So our whole approach is to really try to understand what it takes to create a program that has measurable successful outcomes and how it can be replicated. And so that with partners, we can come up with a solution that matches the scale of this very important problem. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you, Satyajit, for presenting this white paper. We are actually part of this, one of the objectives of this webinar was to launch this white paper. So now I think this is probably a good time for us to congratulate the team that have worked very hard to put this data together, analyze this data, and come up with some recommendations and publish this white paper, and to announce that the white paper is officially released. Okay, so guys, well done, well done. And of course, we will distribute, we'll send all the participants a copy of the paper. I think the intent behind this, right, behind the work that CSA is doing, is the fact that, if you just look at the scale of the problem, 9,000 childcare institutions across the country, right? 50 to 60,000 care leavers, right? Of course, there are many efforts that are being done by the individual childcare institutions because it's their children. So they feel very strongly about trying to do their very best in placing these children and seeing that they have a future. But at the end of the day, their resources are limited. You need inputs over, as we all discussed, over a 2-year period post their exit. It's not only financial support, it's a lot of mentoring support. You need partnerships with skilling institutes so that you have a wide range of options that you can offer. And therefore, it's a space that requires some specialized focus and specialized programs. And I think, a number of us in the space are trying to create these programs. And really, we should take some of the best practices that we are all learning and take them and share them and actually encourage people in different places to actually add an aftercare component to the work that they're doing. So that is really the intention behind this research, behind this white paper, and in fact, this seminar. So that's, I just wanted to say that. But now I want to turn to the panel, okay? And the question I want to ask them is, right? Skilling, there are lots of skilling institutes and opportunities for skilling, right? But what is it that is really required to prepare children so that they take advantage of those opportunities and actually are able to place? So can I start by asking this question to Dr. Kiran?
We really need to work with the child on the ICP. individual care plan, and you have to involve the child and the entire staff around the child, like the counselor, social worker, case manager. When the child is oneself involved in planning for one's career, and one is able to see oneself, okay, what else do I need to acquire as soft skills, the child will be better prepared. So once we start doing these things, preparing them properly, there is every possibility that they will be better prepared to go for a skilling course, because the child has opted for it. It's not being imposed upon the child. So I think that's very important. And like ICICI is doing, it's such a wonderful thing. Children need to be taught English, because without English, there is very little scope. You can get a entry level job, but are we looking at such a short-term future for our children? So if we are planning something bigger, then we need to teach them English, we need to teach them computers and a skill of their choice, even if it is driving, even if it is becoming an electrician, to doing anything and everything. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Bharti ji, would you like to add something?
I think with women, it's because the exposure is so limited, because they come from different places. I think exposure visits really helped us to for them to see, okay, what's there in the outside world, like going to different offices, going to work, even factories and places where there is work being done, formal environment of work. I think exposure visits really open their eyes to see, okay, I can work here. So the aspiration level just goes from here to here. So I think working on the aspiration, because the initial connect with them is the aspiration level is too low. Abhi main kya karu? Mere kismat mein yahi likha hai types, so the aspiration level is not there. So I think we need to work on that by more exposure visits. And so even if they want to start with something they are comfortable with, which is very conventional, that's fine, but you still explore other options. So the first choice will not be your last choice. There is a journey to it. So I think understanding that process is important also. And collaborations. I think the more collaborations you have, the more options you create for women, the more exposure you create for women, the more people talk into their lives as well. So I think that's really helps. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you are echoing what are the experiences of all of us working in this field, that raising aspirations, creating awareness, generating some of these soft skills, literacy, financial literacy, digital literacy, little bit of conversational English, and just aspiration building, setting role models. And I think now many of us have alumni who become role models, creating that whole network of support around alumni. I think these are the things that really make them feel that, yes, this is not some theory being handed down to them, but something that they can achieve. So that's very nice. I'm now going to turn to a topic that I think we have touched upon, and that is the COVID crisis, right? And the impact of the COVID crisis, and what does that mean? So Satyajit, I think you have a couple of slides. We have done a survey amongst our care leavers. You have a couple of slides you can quickly run us through?
Yes, sure. So, so we did a quick survey with our care leavers. We reached out to 173 care leavers who have been in our program to find out how COVID is affecting them. So what we have seen overall is that job security is low. So you see the data here between March and April. So you see that the job security is going down. The care leavers are more unsecure about their jobs. Fewer have received their April salary. So almost from 51%, you see that only 30% have received their April salaries, whereas 51% had received in March. Few are expecting job losses. That is the overall sense that we are getting from our care leavers, which again echoes with the larger environment that we are seeing across, that job insecurity is increasing, whereas salaries are not being offered. So, and we are in touch with the care leavers, so we are helping them in whatever way we can, so to cope up. But this is, I think, something which will happen in the near future across.
So this is really, when you look at these stats, it's really very alarming, right? That only 30% of them actually received salaries in the month of April, right? They were in jobs, but their employers were not able to pay, okay? And it's only 30% who actually received money in hand, okay? Or there are 42% of them who are saying they're not secure about their jobs, right? So can we spend a little bit with the panel, a little bit of time with the panel, just chatting about the COVID crisis and how can we respond? What are the implications of that? So can I start with Saurabh?
Yeah, I'm there. See, listening to the panelists, one thought which came, I wanted to share with all of you was in case of care leavers, 18 is a cutoff, whereas the rest of the society does not start working at 18. I mean, majority of the people we see getting into gainful employment is average age 24, 25. Whether they're educated or semi-educated, that's the trend I have seen. So I think socially there would be a gap at the workplace where the average age of all others would be far higher to this segment. So I think this is one area we should look at on how do we get them to merge with the workforce which is elder to them. Coming back to your topic and question on COVID, I think COVID has taught us one thing, that there are new skills and there are new areas where the demands are high and the supply situation is very low. So let's say a healthcare worker. The country always needed a lot of healthcare worker, and with COVID, it has shown that we need many more. And what we have experienced at ICSI Academy of Skill, that a healthcare worker earns the highest salary amongst all skills, whether it is selling, office, compared to any white collar. This is the highest paid skill in the country, and there's always a short supply of people in this area. And it takes only 3 months to prepare a person in healthcare. So tremendous opportunity to reskill people and place them where they are required.
So there's a question from the audience, Aditya Charegaonkar. Question to Mr. Saurabh Singh and other panelists. How can skilling programs be made available to existing CCIs and aftercare homes? How can these linkages be strengthened? And can organizations prepare or support pre-skilling programs? The soft skills, some of the soft skilling programs that we talked about, can they be made available to care leavers? So Saurabh and then other panelists can also jump in.
My answer is yes, and the answer lies in collaboration. So, I mean, amongst this panel, you can see people approaching the same problem from various directions. And the answer really lies in collaboration, where we can collaborate with each other, supplement the efforts, and make it a much bigger success than what it is today. And I think all of us, all our strengths put together, it can be multiplied significantly.
Right. Another, in this COVID crisis, one of the things is around skilling being impacted. It's not only for people in aftercare, overall education, people are not able to go to schools. A lot of this, I know some of the skilling centers are offering online courses, but many of them are not. And certainly over the next year and maybe beyond, you may find the way education is being delivered is being changed. So a question around how can we, this is of course a challenge to us right now, but is this an opportunity? Is this an opportunity to introduce more digitization in the way we work, both in terms of the way we reach out and connect with care leavers, the way we deliver programs, the access that they have to programs? So can we hear some thoughts around this? Geeta, can you start? Can we start with you?
Yes, sure. So as I had mentioned, we are starting with providing smartphones to 150 care leavers. And in this downtime, when they don't have jobs and they're not attending any educational institution, they can start to work on their conversational English and financial literacy. Now, the challenge with online self-paced courses is motivation. You know, how do these kids stay motivated and keep going? And I think having the mentors check in, the staff or mentors, whatever, check in with them in addition to in addition to requiring them to take initiative. I think that's very important. The situation we have in India is where with these 9,000, CCIs, average size of a CCI being 45 to 50, so that the age of the care leavers, the number of care leavers of the right age is like very few, maybe 4 or 5. So we have to deal with geographic distances for offering these services. So it has always been there, and COVID has just made it worse. And so technology that we can apply in delivering aftercare services, in reaching out and connecting with care leavers, in counseling them over digital technology, in having them access resources online. All of that, I think that we can experiment and make our program overall more effective, far beyond when we get a vaccine and can start traveling again.
So other comments from other panelists around technology and how that might actually be an opportunity?
Yeah, I would like to comment.
Sorry.
We have experimented, and we have also gone and checked some experiences of digital learning. Now, as far as skill is concerned, what we are finding out is the task of the skill academy is done by delivering, but the learning outcomes are far from satisfactory. And Dr. Sameer had earlier mentioned that a lot of these kids are not great in learning, or they're not interested. Now, that's something, it's difficult in classroom environment with a lot of mentoring to prepare them. On digital education, I think education is possible, but skilling is extremely difficult unless until lots of money is spent on creating content which is very exciting. But then that becomes very expensive. I mean, today we are able to train a person for, let's say, 30,000 for 3 months. But if you have to create great digital content which will make the learning experience wonderful and impactful, I think the cost will go at least 20 times.
So if I may pitch in here, there are different aspects one has to really consider. In urban areas, care leavers who are coming out of institutions, they've been exposed to mobiles, and they have been able to pivot themselves very fast and picked up Zoom and other things, and they've started working. And what we noticed in the beginning, there was a big excitement. Now everybody's reaching the end of their tether, and they've started becoming very bored, because ultimately you need human connect. And what about those areas where hilly areas or rural areas where connectivity is so poor? And we have to remember the care leavers don't have too much money to spend on their recharge. So unless we are able to give them, content is one part of it. Content needs to be created. And I can assure you there are some very exciting content already. But the problem is, if we are wanting to reach out to the care leavers, like, somebody like Geeta comes forward and gives each one of them mobile, and then another one comes forward and gives them recharge. Because in COVID times, when the grocery itself is suspect, talking about technology sometimes becomes a little difficult. So that's what my take on that. We've been also discussing how can we, maybe we should be talking to MWCD. Children should be given better internet facilities, and especially care leavers, and they should be given instruments. But who's going to invest into all that? In fact, let me tell you, I had approached the ministry also. Can every DCPO in their district start looking around for care leavers who left only in the last 2 years? Because those would be more at risk of losing their jobs, of not getting money. But, and the government, they have so many schemes, and they can connect the children with these schemes, and the children can get at least grocery. Abroad, we have seen many colleges, they are bringing the care leavers there and giving them accommodation. But in India, we are not even thinking about it. Care leavers are not in anybody's mind space.
Very true. Bhartiji, would you like to add anything on this?
Just a brief thing that we have been able to do a lot of online sessions with the girls and women. So thankful for that, because literacy sessions, a lot of counseling has been delivered, is continued to be delivered through online sessions and Zoom and things like that. But I think the craving for human connect is definitely there with the clients and the women that we work with. We are getting a hang of it ourselves, because the staff itself has to be trained on using technology. We're not used to it. People who go in the field do a lot of running around, face-to-face interactions. Their training becomes extremely essential if we want to look at technology, ramping up technology during this time. So I think there's a lot of training content. Yes, we are urbanized, so it's easier. Rural is a different issue altogether. So I think those are my.
So just to share our experience as CSA, right? We have actually, in the last month and a half, started delivering a lot of programs through digital means. So within the CCI, we had set up computer labs in many of the CCIs. Many of them have smart TVs, okay, which we have been able to connect. And we have actually put together a task force to identify available content, right? And there is a lot of high quality content. What we are also seeing is that, now you can get an expert, let's say in yoga, right? To talk about yoga to, a child home, which might be in Katni or some other remote location, right? Which otherwise would not be possible, because then the expert has to travel there, right? And the logistics don't make that very feasible. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and certainly even with our care leavers, we were earlier not actually funding them to have a phone, but 82% of our care leavers had a phone, because it's today a very, very essential thing for everybody. And 90% of those phones were actually smartphones. So what we have done is start to fund them for recharges, right? And for those that don't have smartphones, through Geeta's help and other, we are actually providing now to make it an essential part of the leaving kit, right? That when you are entering our program, you will get a smartphone. It may be a used phone, but you will get a smartphone, and you will get a certain minimum data recharge available to you, at least for the first 6 months, right? And for two reasons. One is, as we have seen, we all are still staying sane because we are able to talk and interact and do our work and feel connected with the rest of the world due to our digital technology, right? And we are again identifying a lot of programs that are enable training to be done. So there's a very wonderful spoken English, conversational English program that's actually computer based, right? And similarly, there are many, many such content available already, right? So, and we, just like spoken English, I think digital literacy is going to be a need for everybody who is entering into the job stream. These are young people, a little bit of push, and they will actually learn the basics of this technology very, very quickly, right? So I think that despite, of course, there's no substitute to the physical connect, right? And hopefully that we'll be able to reestablish. But moving forward, if I look at ourselves 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, I feel that a hybrid program where we actually use the ability, the digital technology along with the human connect, right? That will be the way forward and will allow the best of content to be made available, right? As well as, of course, the special, the connect that you need as an individual. So there are actually a lot of questions. There are 32 questions in the chat box. I really wish we had the time to address them, but we are getting on to, 1.5 hours. All right. So we just have time for maybe one question and one quick round of closing comments. Okay. So, I'm just trying to choose a question. How about mental health professionals, right? What is, mental health? And we have all touched upon the importance of aspiration, confidence, right? Being in a good space, because that's so fundamental to anything that you do. So a quick question around mental health. What is being done to address these? What do you think are some ways in which it can be addressed?
Should I?
Please.
Yeah, so I think mental health, it's really such a big issue because our universities are not churning out those many mental health specialists and those who are interested in children, and more than that, in disadvantaged children. So it is a sector which can't afford to pay for these kind of services. So there is an acute need to develop para-counselors. And there are para-counselors, even in social work, the social workers are attending a course on counseling. So they do understand, but basically many issues of children can be addressed with love and care when you are giving a listening ear to the child. Most of the time, the child feels nobody is willing to hear me. So that's the biggest problem. Even if a child cuts the hand, it's like, oh God, we can't handle this child. Let's send her to some government home. Rather than understanding this child is crying out for help. And we need to pitch in. Otherwise, why are we there? So these are some issues. We cannot just depend on mental health specialists. They should be approached when you really need guidance. But there are so many para-counseling courses available. As a parent also, you have dealt with your own children. You should be able to handle many things in-house. That's what I feel.
Anybody else?
So we are able to reach our women through mental health counseling on phone, online basically, group sessions, one-on-one. So because when the lockdown started, so I've read the context of the lockdown as well, suddenly the mental health issues got a bit exasperated. So they got triggered. A lot of things got triggered and everything went haywire. Slowly we settled down with the counselor speaking to the women and girls one-on-one in a group session as well. I think, but the major miss in all this is the body language, which is as important when you do a counseling session face to face. So that's a kind of the gap that we feel. But I think online is also very helpful looking at the situation at this moment right now.
Dr. Sameer, are you okay? Maybe we come back to him later. So time for a final comment from each one of us. What is, Dr. Sameer is here with us. Dr. Sameer, we were just talking about the trauma and the issues that children face and what can be done towards addressing their mental well-being and health. So some practical, आपका practical थोड़ा experience बताइए.
ओके सर, एक्चुअली मेंटल हेल्थ पे बहुत कुछ इफेक्ट होता है इनका, जो प्रीवियस पास्ट है, अगर बहुत ट्रॉमेटिक पास्ट रहता है किसी बच्चे का तो वो अफेक्ट करता है उनके प्रेजेंट मेंटल बीइंग को। तो हमारे संग सबसे बड़ा इशू ये होता है कि जब बच्चा किसी सीसीआई में आता है तो वो इतने सारे ट्रॉमा से गुजर के आता है, इतना सारा उसके संग बैड एक्सपीरियंसेस होते हैं, तो वो सारी चीजें भुला नहीं पाता है। इधर सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रोल होता है प्रॉपर काउंसलर का। हम उसको प्रॉपर काउंसलिंग करें, बट एवरी टाइम काउंसलर उसको पोक ना करता चले, एवरी टाइम उसको वही चीजें याद ना दिलाता रहे। हमको एक उसको प्रॉपर बैलेंस्ड काउंसलिंग चाहिए, साथ में हम उसको इतना हेल्दी एनवायरनमेंट दें कि वो धीरे धीरे चीजों को भूल जाए। जो हम लोग प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, मुझे सबसे ज्यादा हेल्प मिली कि एक अगर इनका जैम पैक्ड शेड्यूल हो किसी बच्चे का जैसे वो सीसीआई में आता है, जैम पैक्ड शेड्यूल हो जिसमें जरूर आउटिंग हो, उनकी मूवीज हो, बच्चों के लिए पिकनिक्स हो, उनके स्पोर्ट्स के सेशन हो, उनको एक बहुत स्पेशल चाइल्ड जैसे ना ट्रीट किया जाए कि बिल्कुल ही वो बाहर नहीं जा सकते हैं, वो घूम नहीं सकते, वो अपना फ्रेंड सर्किल नहीं बना सकते, जैसा मुझे महसूस हो रहा है। अगर एक बच्चे को, जैसे हम अपने बच्चे को नॉर्मल एनवायरनमेंट देते हैं, वो अपने फ्रेंड्स के घर जा सकता है, वो कभी स्कूल में उसके किसी फ्रेंड का बर्थडे है तो बच्चा जा सकता है। यदि हम इनको रेस्ट्रिक्ट करते हैं तो वो एग्रेसिव होते हैं, उनको लगता है कि हमारे संग ऐसा क्यों, वो बच्चा, सारे बच्चे बर्थडे में जा रहे हैं, हमारे फ्रेंड की बर्थडे, हम क्यों नहीं जा सकते। तो हमें लगता है कि थोड़ा सा रिलैक्सेशन होना चाहिए, जस्ट इसलिए कि वो सीसीआई के बच्चे, हम उनको इतना प्रिवेंट करके रखें, इतना डर डर के रहें, तो जब किसी बच्चे के साथ ऐसा होता, वो बर्थडेज नहीं अटेंड कर पाता, वो पार्टीज में नहीं जा पाता, वो आउटिंग पे नहीं जा पाता, वो अपने फ्रेंड्स के संग मूवीज नहीं जा पाता, तो वो बहुत एग्रेसिव होता है। उसको लगता कि ऐसा मेरे संग क्यों हो रहा है। जब 1 दिन 2 दिन 3 दिन 4 दिन ऐसा सालों उसके संग होता है, एक स्पेशल कुछ अलग से हम उनका ट्रीट करते हैं, तो वो एग्रेसिव होते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि जितना कुछ हम अपने बच्चे को नॉर्मल ट्रीट करते हैं, यदि सीसीआई के बच्चों को हम उसी पेस में, उसी इंटरेस्ट से, उसी इमोशंस के साथ यदि रखते हैं, तो इनका एग्रेशन धीरे धीरे कम होता है। और मैंने देखा है कि जैसे मेरा बच्चा 20 साल का हो गया, मैंने आज तक उसकी काउंसलिंग नहीं कराई, कोई जरूरत नहीं है। तो हर बच्चे को काउंसलिंग की जरूरत नहीं होती। मैं अभी सीसीआई में देखता हूँ कि हमारे पास अगर 32 बच्चे हैं, 50 बच्चे हैं, एवरी टाइम उनकी काउंसलिंग हो रही है, एवरी वीक उनकी काउंसलिंग हो रही है। बच्चा इरिटेट हो जाता है, उसको क्या जरूरत है काउंसलिंग। फिर एक बड़ा जो इशू है, इंडिविजुअल केयर प्लान। मेरा बेटा, उसका कोई केयर प्लान नहीं। मुझे नहीं लगता जितने पैनलिस्ट यहाँ बैठे किसी ने अपने बच्चे का एवरी मंथ केयर प्लान बनाया होगा एंड एवरी मंथ उसको कुछ उसमें वो सब किए होंगे जो आप लोग चाहते हो। बच्चे इरिटेट होते हैं इन सब चीजों से। एवरी टाइम हम बच्चे को बोलेंगे कि तुम क्या करना चाहते हैं, अगले मंथ फिर उससे कुछ पूछना होगा, तुम फ्यूचर में क्या करना चाहते हो, तुम्हारा इंटरेस्ट क्या है। मुझे लगता है ये चीजें ना बहुत इरिटेट करती बच्चे को। हम उसको जितना कुछ नॉर्मल ट्रीटमेंट दे सकें, जितना हम उसको फ्रीडम दे सकें, जो हमारे बच्चों को, क्योंकि मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग जो इंसान चाहता है वो फ्रीडम चाहता है। इन बच्चों के पास फ्रीडम नहीं है, ये कहीं भी जा नहीं सकते हैं, ये घूम नहीं सकते हैं, बाहर नहीं जा सकते हैं। ये जब इनकी फ्रीडम छीन जाती है सीसीआई में आने के बाद, वो बेसिक इनका इरिटेशन का कारण है, जो मैंने फील किया। मुझे नहीं पता आपके उधर क्या सिचुएशन है, यहाँ के लोग काफी एक्सपीरियंस है और काफी बड़े स्केल पे काम कर रहे हैं, मैं बहुत छोटे स्केल पे काम कर रहा हूँ। पर मैंने ये फील किया है कि जब बच्चे की आप फ्रीडम छीन लेते हो, तो वो मेन इरिटेशन का जो उसका रीजन है, वो उसके फ्रीडम का छीनना होता है।
तो ये जो फैमिली लाइक केयर जो आप बता रहे हैं ना डॉक्टर समीर, कि बच्चे को इंस्टीट्यूशन में रखो लेकिन फैमिली लाइक केयर अगर दें तो फिर वो गैप इतना नहीं होता है। सो आई थिंक ये जो आप कह रहे हैं ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है, क्योंकि अभी क्या होता है कि सब चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस एक ही तरह से देखे जाते हैं, बल्कि नैरेटिव ये है कि चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस की जरूरत क्या है। क्यों है, राइट? और उनको बच्चों को सब वापस भेजना चाहिए, ऑल्टरनेटिव केयर करना चाहिए, वो सब ठीक है, लेकिन चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में भी फैमिली लाइक केयर प्रोवाइड किया जा सकता है। और ऐसे कई एग्जाम्पल्स हैं जहाँ ये बहुत अच्छी तरह हो रहा है। और अगर वो हो तो फिर बच्चे की बहुत अच्छी देखभाल की जा सकती है। ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट किया। अभी टाइम नहीं है, एक्चुअली 38 क्वेश्चंस हैं
ओके सर, ओके,
कम फ्रॉम द ऑडियंस।
ओके,
ऐसा करूंगा, आई विल सेंड ऑल द क्वेश्चंस टू द पैनलिस्ट and please, आपको some questions may be addressed to you or you may feel like commenting on some of these, तो आप प्लीज आंसर करिए, क्योंकि ये जो आज हुआ है कि हम सब लोग साथ आए हैं, अपनी थॉट्स को शेयर किया है, अपने लर्निंग्स को शेयर किया है, आई थिंक दैट इज अ रियली रियली इम्पोर्टेंट स्टेप। और ये जो So I think I was hoping for one last set of comments. So very quick comments. Okay, whoever wishes to make them before we close up this. Geeta, yep.
Yeah, so Kiran said that where is the money, for doing all of this? And I agree this area is very underfunded, but I feel that the story of care leavers is not talked about enough. There is enough money for charity floating around, but it goes into literacy or it goes into cute little children or whatever. But these care leavers really tug at my heart. They are entering the world with no support. I think we can make such a wonderful story about them. We can talk to the donors about how they felt at 18, entering the world, and how would it have been if they didn't have support. So I think it's our challenge to raise more money for this.
Great. Saurabh?
Yeah.
Bharti ji, aap.
Yeah. I think I'll come back to the COVID time right now. I think one thought that has been going through my mind is it's a great learning experience in this tough time. How do we further strengthen our programs, and how do you make it more resilient? I think building in more resilience with caregivers and care leavers. How can we learn from today's experience and take it as part of a learning into your program to build further resilience? I think that's where my mind is nowadays, that how do you strengthen our programs? So I think I'll leave with that thought, because it's an amazing, it has positives where girls have come together and supported each other. At the same time, it teaches us a lot of lessons on resilience. So I will leave it at that thought. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Saurabh?
My thought here is that excessive hand holding, as Dr. Sameer also mentioned, actually gets into negative domain. And I'm just giving a small example. Every colleague of mine called back their child from US and Canada because of COVID. I wanted my son to stay back. And when people asked me why, I said, at my age, he needs to take care of me and not me. So in a few years' time, when I'll be wanting care, I have not prepared him. How will he do it? So these are times of crisis where, I mean, while I sympathize with what is happening around us, but it will make these people far stronger, and they'll be able to lead their lives far better if we are able to revive it in the next 30 days or 45 days.
I actually do think that with every challenge, there is, people emerge stronger. And I think that holds true for individuals, holds true for organizations. So, yeah. Dr. Kiran?
Last word. I don't have any last word. I think we've just started. We've just begun actually to start paying attention to this much needed population. My only appeal to everyone is treat them like your own. But the problem is the law does not want you to treat them like your own. There are certain law requirements, and there have been so many abuses which happen, you know. So we need to be very careful, and nobody is willing to put their head into trouble. So that's where the problem is. We need to start treating the children as our own. That's what I would like to say.
Dr. Sameer, any last words before the end of the seminar? आपको थोड़ा अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ सर.
हाँ, कुछ बिल्कुल आखिरी मोमेंट्स में कुछ आप कहना चाहेंगे?
लास्ट मेरा क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट यही रहेगा कि हमारे अलावा जिन जिन के भी बच्चे हैं जो अपने घरों में हैं, हमको उनको कुछ नहीं बताना पड़ता. हमें किसी नॉर्मल पेरेंट्स को नहीं बताना पड़ता कि इसके लिए तुम क्या करोगे, कैसे वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग करोगे. वो अल्टीमेटली अपने बच्चे पाल लेते हैं क्योंकि उनमें फीलिंग होती है मेरा बेटा. तो इतने इंस्टीट्यूट हम लोगों को आपको इतना क्यों बताना पड़ता है, मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आता. एक व्यक्ति जिसका एक बच्चा होता है, उसको कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं होता, उसके बाद भी वो अपने बच्चे को पूरा बड़ा कर लेता है, उसको बेस्ट ऑफ एजुकेशन देता है, उसको इमोशनली स्टेबल बनाता है, उसके मेंटल स्टेटस को ध्यान में रख के कोई परेशानी नहीं जाती है. और हम इतने सारे बच्चे पालने के बाद भी उतने ही इनसफिशिएंट क्यों रहते हैं. हमने इतने सारे बच्चे हैंडल किए, उसके बाद भी एवरी टाइम हमको ये क्यों बताना पड़ता कि हम उनका मेंटल स्टेटस कैसे मेंटेन रखें, हम उनको हेल्दी कैसे रखें, हम उनको वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग कैसे दें. मुझे लगता है कि वो फीलिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम उनको अपना समझें, और जहां अपनेपन की भावना रहती है कोई चीज की जरूरत नहीं रहती, सभी कुछ रास्ते अपने आप निकल आते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you. Satyajit?
Yes, I really don't have any closing comments, but I would like to thank all of the panelists for coming here. And this has been I mean, we have heard so many perspectives. So we have learned a lot from each other. I have learned a lot from all the panelists. I would just like to thank everybody for making time, especially Dr. Sameer. In his, although he is in his clinic, he has been able to give us time and speak. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with this, let's bring this webinar to a close. I'd like to thank everybody. I think it's a great beginning. I hope our interaction will not stop here. It will continue, because collaborations, if there's anything, it's actually around collaborations, right? I think that's, we are all doing very, very wonderful work. If we start working together, I think the efforts will just multiply, and that's really the need of the hour. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
गुलाब के फूल नहीं लाए
ना सर, अभी जस्ट आया है बॉक्स में, अभी दिखा